Hello. We're back.
Again.
Round 5 in the books. Certainly an interesting round of football.
This year's going to be the year of upsets.
This round started very well, and then just kind of went. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So there was some very, very bad games this week.
That was Bulldogs Newcastle game.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That was certainly one game. Yep, it was 80 minutes of football that happened. But we can get to that later. We'll start with a good game, Raiders Sharks. That was an excellent game. Very, very good game. I think we've got try of the year locked up. I can't see anything beating that Seb Chris try. That was absurd.
Yeah. That was insane.
Threw the ball around
and hoped.
And it worked.
And it worked. Why didn't every team do that? You're a lot more excited.
Well, I guess they can't do it for 80 minutes.
I suppose that is true. But yeah, it was just a bit of a usual game from both these teams. I think the Raiders just did their usual thing of be solid and bounce down the front ball. And Cronulla did their usual thing of not being able to ice a big game. So
I cannot believe that a team that is stacked, the players that Cronulla have are doing so badly.
Well, I can because they've been doing it for the past 4 years. This is just Cronulla now, and it's not good, but it's just kind of what you have to accept.
Yeah.
So unless something changes, I don't see them being any sort of threat in the postseason at all.
No.
I guess on their side, it was just a bunch of meh.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, Adam Fanua-Blake was good, but he's always good.
He's always good.
At this point. Cam McInnes was his usual tackle bot self. He made 45 tackles. Britt Nicker scored twice.
He's very good. The rest of the team needs to stand up somewhere along the line because, I mean, you've got an ex-LM halfback. You've got Braden Trindle, who's one of the craftier 5'8" in the competition at the moment.
I think that's exactly the issue. I think that it seems like from week to week, especially at the beginning of this season, they've been kind of deciding on the day who the dominant half is going to be. But when you get to these big moments, the other just kind of waits for the other to do the big thing. I think they need to definitively say whose team this is. Because otherwise you're going to have more of these moments where there's nothing attacking going because no one wants to step up. I think it needs to be Braden Trindle's team. I think you need to have him definitively as the halfback and have Nico be the sixth.
I think so. I think at the moment Trindle has a little bit more in his quiver than Hines has. You know, Hines on his day is still one of the better footballers in the competition, but he just hasn't had his day for some time.
Which is quite unfortunate.
I think Origin has killed him.
It's really taken the confidence out of him. He's got the yips.
Yeah.
I think so. I think he's one of these confidence players, and we've seen them many times, and if they're on, they're almost impossible to stop.
Yeah.
But he has to find that mojo again for his team to
He hasn't been on this year.
No, he had a couple of good games, but it's just a matter of consistency.
He hasn't been
high-level football, which hasn't happened in quite some time.
Yeah, he struggled a bit, and it is sad to see because he was a very, very good footballer, and it's just sapped him somewhere along the line.
I haven't completely written him off yet. I think there is still definitely a way that he can get back to at least a good portion of what he was in 2022.
Yep.
But it's just getting harder and harder to have faith that he's going to turn it around at some point. And it's a big test for Fitzgibbon to try and get the best back out of Nico Hines.
Yeah, Hines is he's down on confidence.
Yeah, I'm starting to get concerned about Cronulla.
Yeah.
Me too. I have him in my top 2.
Yeah, so did I. It's just a bit of...
They need to turn it around pretty quick if that's going to happen.
If that's going to happen, they really need
I think I'll put them in 4th.
They need to get something going.
Yeah.
I guess on the other side, Canberra get another very good win. Like I said,
up with Canberra. I mean,
they always do this. This is what Canberra does. They win games in the most stupid ways possible.
But they come up here, with the Townsville, and
Yeah.
got beaten pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it was up here.
Mm.
That was at Canberra. That's why they won.
Yeah, and look, they played really, really well. There weren't too many bad players on the team, to be
I
fair.
think that's immense. We know what he does. He's Joe Tarpany, but like
He's one of the best.
ran for 150 meters, had 5 offloads, which is absurd. 43 tackles, no misses. Just an outstanding day from him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very, very good. It's good to see him back in the team after being out for a couple of weeks, and he's firing pretty well. So
I will say that I think Ricky Stewart might have a headache coming up because Matty Nicholson's been performing really well.
Yeah.
What do you do when Zach Hosking is healthy? Because you can't drop Hudson Young.
no,
And Nicholson's been playing very, very well. I don't know how you balance those 3 second rows. It'll be very interesting to see what he does. Well, that's what was happening for a bit, but it was when Nicholson wasn't, I think, even in the team until Hosking was out. So, yeah, maybe you bring Nicholson off the bench. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see
he
how.
might be a good impact player. I mean, we're yet to be seen, I guess. So
Pretty good.
no, I mean, yeah, Canberra. They need more consistency, obviously, because they beat Brisbane and then they lost to us, and then they've beaten Cronulla. It's like, what's happening there? And they beat Brisbane in Brisbane, so that was the difference. But they couldn't beat the Cowboys in Townsville, and I don't blame them. It's Hades up here, but
It was so bad.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of, like, you brought up the consistency thing, I think the big factor in that is Ethan Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might want a little bit more out of him, especially now that it is his second season. You want him to be progressing. He just kind of feels about the same as he was last year.
Yeah, he was very good last year.
Bad, but it's like you want, especially with the contract situation surrounding Jamal Fogarty, if you want your halves combo in the future to be Fogarty and Strange, that's okay. But if Fogarty doesn't decide to stay and you're stuck with Strange and Sanders, because Strange has been there longer, you want him to be further along.
Yeah,
So maybe he'll keep going this year. I want him to because I really like him as a player. But for the Raiders' sake, I think you need a little bit more out of him. And KO Weeks as well.
Yeah, he's been down a couple of third.
Well, he had a couple of really rough weeks.
Yeah.
So he wasn't utterly terrible this week, which is an improvement.
Yeah, I don't think Cronulla exploited him too much like the other teams did. Maybe they didn't watch video. I don't know.
Probably not.
But anyway, that was a good win by Canberra. Well done, the Raiders.
Speaking of good wins, 2 in a row. Got 2 in a row. I'm still not convinced at all. Of course, the Cowboys should have lost that game.
Casey McLean should have passed.
Casey McLean completely threw that.
Mm.
So I'm very happy the Cowboys won. It doesn't give me a big vote of confidence.
I mean, you say that, but then you've got the Rock Derby intercept where he decides to run closer to the sideline, and they would have a whole set of 6, 7 meters out, and I'd suggest they probably score.
I am by no means saying the Cowboys played poorly because it's probably the best performance they've had all year, especially defensively.
But I think those 2 plays, McLean both involved, cancel each other out. The Cowboys were the better team on the night. The stats show that, right? The stats of missed tackles were way better than the Penrith missed tackles and stuff. And that's something that you don't say about the Cowboys very often.
It's true.
Yeah.
Their missed tackles are usually their bane of their existence.
This is like the first game of the year where they've had less than 30 missed tackles.
27. It was excellent. Very, very good.
I was on YouTube. He read this thing out. I was just like, am I reading this right? A really solid defensive performance from the Cowboys.
Yep, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to say that it actually happened.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that since 2022.
Really, this game, we have contended the tackle of the year already.
What a shot. That was good. How good. It's always good when someone levels one of the top flight players.
And completely legally, there was nothing wrong with it. And it was just a good, solid hit.
I guess we can get this out of the way now because this was the first game where it really reared its head. This whole sin bin crackdown stuff. Look, I'm fine with the Reece Robson one. I think that was fair.
Yeah.
I think the Isaac Tonga one was a bit. It was just.
I think that was a get even when they should have actually sin bin the.
There you go.
That was worse than Robson's.
Absolutely.
and he stayed on, and that is egregious.
And that was an issue throughout the entire week.
That's terrible.
No one knows what counts as a sin bin anymore. And that's concerning when you're doing a crackdown like this.
I mean, I'm all right with the Robson thing too, but the new rule stated if there were no mitigating factors. There was at least one mitigating factor in his tackle.
I didn't even say that, but now
Yeah,
the target is naturally
The
lower.
target has naturally lowered, and that's a mitigating factor, and that's why Tom did and brought that up on the
He
field.
picked it up, and Peter Goff was just like, yeah, sure, bye.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying,
Hands
but he's
on.
got this. It's like, you know,
And it's funny that I kept looking for this, but I think Annesley stopped doing those weekly things, which is the most telling thing I've ever seen about how much they care about referees being accountable for what they do, which is not at all.
I know. I want to touch Judges Airport, just saying. We'll talk about a few of those.
Yeah, we'll get back to the next game, but going back to this, yep, Cowboys win. I thought that Murray Talangi had his best game in a while. He was
He
excellent.
was immense. I thought Derby was quite good, apart from that one slip up with the.
He's very, very good at a yardage.
Yeah, Purdue is the next great center for the Cowboys.
He has really figured out his defense. I've been very impressed, especially after the first couple of weeks. We were all calling for his head. I couldn't go anywhere.
I wasn't, but yeah.
I couldn't go anywhere in Cowboys media without people saying you need to drop Purdue because he's a liability. He has been arguably the best player over the last month in Douglas football.
Easy. And that includes their hearts. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Purdue's really, really turned it around. And
He's been the most dangerous player on the field.
it kind of concerns me for Labor's prospects because I don't know when he's going to get into this team.
Vilea hasn't been bad either.
I think he's been strong as well. So unless you want to chuck Labor on the wing, maybe.
Because Derby misses out.
Looking for an injury or origin, I suppose, and put him on the wing in place of Muzz.
Oh, that's possible.
But then you're having Braden Burns not playing, and he was there to start the year. It's a whole.
I feel bad for the Labor family, to be fair, because the same thing happened with Kyle.
Exact same thing happened with Kyle.
And he was an excellent footballer and a great defender. And Zach is the same, right? Obviously, his dad taught him how to tackle properly, and he does. But yeah, is there a spot for him at the moment? Maybe not with the way the team is performing at this particular juncture.
It's very interesting. I will say, look, Robson's been getting better week over week, which is really good to
His
see.
defense picked up. He still had some.
He's had a couple of weird misfires in attack, but yeah, defensively he's definitely picked the effort up. I think he's going to get there at some point. I just hope that the bye in round 7 doesn't kill all of the momentum that this team is building.
Well, maybe it'll be good for them. Maybe there's a couple of niggles that they might be having that could ease up a little bit with the bye as well. They're always useful, but yeah, that's yet to be seen. We have to get to the next game and see how they go over in Perth. But we'll talk about that later.
I'm officially concerned for Penrith. I'm very, very concerned.
What's the average points against? About 30, 21, something like that?
That's a
yeah,
lot.
it's too much.
This is their worst start since before the dynasty years. This is
It's like 2018, Penrith.
This is concerning, and they need to pick it up quickly because there will be this narrative for the whole year that if they make the finals, they're going to be scary because they always are. They always turn up for finals. Now it's a matter of can they get there, which is an absurd thing to think, especially for Penrith. But it's a legitimate concern now.
I just love that little thing that they're the only team in the continent that hasn't won a game in Australia this year.
You can play in America every game. Yep, there you go. They relocate to Vegas. The Vegas Panthers now. They need a good team named the Panthers at some point.
Wasps beat over in Australia because they usually play in New Zealand.
Yeah, they've won.
They've won a year.
They beat Manly.
At Manly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that was down in New Zealand.
I don't remember. They beat someone. Was it Canberra?
the Tigers?
No, they lost to Canberra. I don't remember.
The Tigers.
They beat someone.
Yeah, that's what they beat the Tigers. That's
Oh,
right.
last week. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so they won in
That was right,
Australia.
yeah.
For Penrith, it's just, I mean, the usual suspects were good. I thought that Yo and Cleary played well.
Of course they did.
But outside that, there's just not much to talk about.
I mean, I tell you what, how much they miss Brian Toto.
Oh, man.
I mean, you talk about players that have an impact in a team.
He might be the most influential winger ever.
Well, he'd be up there. He'd be up there. There's some good ones from previous years, but I do know what you're saying. He's very good taking runs out of out of their own end because he's got that strength and speed.
And that's why the Cowboys' missed tackle count was so down, because he breaks 7, 8 tackles a week. And I like Casey McLean. He can't do that.
No. He runs fast, but that's about all he's got.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, look, Penrith have got a few issues that Ivan's going to have to reach into his magic bag and try and pull something out.
I don't know how much they actually have, because their development and their roster has been rated so aggressively the past couple of years. But they just don't have anybody. And I think the big thing is they didn't have a ready-made Luai replacement.
Yeah, how important was Luai? I mean,
Exactly, because you look at the people they have. They have Jack Cole, who's okay. He's fine. You've got Brad Schneider, who's been a fringe first grade for the past few years. And where is Blaze Talangi in all this? I thought he was brought in to be the Luai replacement. He's nowhere to be seen. Not even in New South Wales Cup, he's not anywhere. He's been playing centre down there. It's very, very concerning.
Yeah.
Penrith are in trouble this year. Unless they find a way of turning it around in the next couple of weeks, they're going to miss the 8.
They need to figure out what's going on at 5-8. That's the big question.
Yes, that's their trouble.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm not completely writing them off, but I am concerned. It's hit DEFCON 3.
Yeah. I would be lying if I said I was concerned for Penrith because
It's
Penrith. As far as they're concerned, they should be concerned. That's what they should be as a team.
And even Ivan himself has said that this is kind of uncharted waters for his coaching tenure. So it's very, very strange and a bit surreal to see this happening, to be fair.
It can happen, though. I mean, we've seen teams go from like the penthouse to the outhouse pretty
I
quickly.
remember the Rabbits in 2022 when they were going crazy at the beginning of the year, and then Magic Round happened.
Yeah.
Especially after... But I think it's a slightly different scenario in which we've been so accustomed to Penrith just being the juggernaut, like the team to beat, and now they're not. It's weird looking at the ladder and seeing them sitting in 15th or whatever they are right now.
Down the bottom, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a very weird feeling. I don't know whether I like it.
I don't think I like it.
I don't like change.
I don't care.
I know you don't care, but
It's good to see.
I like good football being played, which means I like good teams existing. So
We're not playing good football.
No.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Next game.
The Sydney Derby, Bunnies Chooks.
That try should not have been a try, and I hated the flag.
Here we go.
It was all apart!
Everybody's story.
And he stood on the line.
It was forward.
He didn't stand on the line. That one was wrong. He did not stand on the line.
It was very close.
Of course, it was close. It always is.
It was a.
Yeah, the pass is very contentious.
I don't think contentious is the word. There wouldn't be unless you're a rabid flipping Rabbits fan.
Very good.
And your eyes are open at least a little bit. You can see that ball went 4 meters forward.
Yeah,
And that's not physics. That's you throwing the ball forward.
but and look, I can see that was probably a forward pass. However, it frustrates me that this takes away how good a win this was for South. Because everyone will be talking about, the Latrell Mitchell pass was forward. It's the only reason they won. They were in this game losing both of their starting halves in the first half.
Oh, look, I'm not arguing that South's grittiness was on display. They stayed in the fight, and that's the reason they had that opportunity for that particular try to occur anyway, because they just stayed in the fight the whole way. It's just unfortunate that apparently Latrell doesn't know backwards from forwards.
The touch judges don't know backwards from forwards.
No,
It's not his fault.
it kind of is. He still threw it. It's both their faults. One for him throwing it, and two for the touch judges being inept.
Sure, whatever. But
Still, you're just happy because it's still going with your pips, right? Bound to come crashing down this one.
I'm sure it will, but let me be delusional for a little bit, okay? I'm happy to see the Rabbits be good.
At least the Trail's probably playing.
And I'm also happy to see the Roosters be a complete trap.
Oh, no, they were bad.
They are a disaster right now.
Well, somebody's had to fall on his sword because of it, so...
Flip my ladder.
That was a good decision, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's a struggle for the Roosters at the moment.
Look,
and it was always going to be, look, I don't care. you're the best coach in the universe, if you've got a roster that includes Chad Townsend at half and Sandon Smith at 5'8", you're in trouble. That's not a good pairing. And you've got injuries and you've had people out from concussion protocols and whatever else. Look, I like Trent Robinson as a coach. I think he's a bit grumpy at times, but I think he's a good coach. But you can't get blood from a stone, man. You can't.
Yes, I understand that look, yes, there is only so much you can do. It should not be this bad because they still have a decent roster. You still have James Tedesco,
who is playing the house down at the
playing
moment.
exceptional well. You still have some very, very good forwards. Connor Watson, Nat Butcher, Nafahu White's been excellent.
Who's been the best forward?
Absolutely.
Toya?
Yeah, the boy has been a revelation. You've got,
although he started strong, but he's had a few average weeks.
He's just been completely solid. There's only so much. Look, outside backs can only do as well as the team playing inside them most of the time.
Yeah,
and the team playing inside them is terrible. He's playing well considering the circumstances.
Tedesco is carrying this team mostly on his back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't just leave it to him.
Big
He's getting old.
Even this week, he had some 240 meters. I think broke 10 tackles.
Yeah, one of the reasons the Roosters are this bad, Terrell May.
Doesn't help.
Speaking,
I mean, you've got these people.
There's
a big loss.
There's lots of question marks surrounding the recruitment and retention around the Roosters right now. But I don't think that's the only problem. I think even with these guys, they're struggling. I think
with their main halves.
I think Sam Walker's the big loss here. Simply because of how well he organizes this team and still has like the decent skill.
Yeah.
Because Townsend can be a good game manager, we know that, but his actual football ability isn't where it should be.
Not where it used to be. Not when he was playing for the Sharks.
Like even when he was still fine. So it's just
He's a good game manager.
It's a bad season for the Roosters. We all kind of assumed it would be a rebuild.
It happens to every team.
Absolutely. I didn't think it would be this is happening to
well, then you just look back at the team you just talked about. Penrith are also having the same problems.
It's happening ugly.
I guess we can go back to the Bunnies because they did win this game. I thought the Jai Gray was excellent again.
Jai Gray's going to win the Dally M.
Surprise Dally M charge from Jai Gray. Certainly wasn't on my bingo card for this year.
The injuries, he wouldn't have been playing had Latrell not got injured at the start.
I'm very impressed with Latrell, simply because this is his first game in a while, and he comes back and has to shift to 5'8" halfway through, and plays fairly well considering.
He's fine, and he actually looks fitter than he has in previous years. He doesn't look slow and uninterested.
The good thing for the Cowboys next week, he is named at 5'8".
It's not his preferred position, but
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that game as we get to it.
It's just good high percentage football being played by the Rabbits right now. This is what they need to do.
Playing Bennett, right?
Playing Bennett, exactly. It's perfect for them.
Yeah.
He's been there before.
Now the question becomes, with Walker and Humphreys out, how well does this team work with a halves combo of Mitchell and Sullivan? Because it's not Lewis Dodd. What a weird signing that was.
Yeah,
I don't know. But, yep, Bunnies keep winning. Roosters keep losing. Life is good.
Good this week.
Bunnies go
this week. And then it was good. It was good for the rest of Friday night. And then we were allowed to watch this game. This was terrible.
That was awful.
Eels Dragons is one of the worst games I've ever watched. That was terrible.
It was exciting only because it was close.
Oh, my word.
It wasn't close because it was good. It was close because it was bad.
Exactly. There wasn't much good football being played here.
Lomax was probably the only shining light out of the whole game.
I thought that Dylan Brown also played his best game for a while. Because, even statistically, you look at how he went. He ran for 160 meters. He had a line break. He had a try assist. He had 3 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 21 tackles, 1 miss, which is good for a 5'8", especially.
He's a big body.
It's the closest he's looked to, back to his ceiling. But there's only so much he can do with this team, unfortunately.
This team is going on bastards. It's just not.
I mean, they just won, but
No, but this was against a very lackluster St. George side.
I'll get through the Dragons first, because I have a bit of ranting to do about Parramatta's whole thing that they did in this game. But Yeah, the Dragons. Yikes!
Yeah, that wasn't pleasant to watch for
They-
a Dragon supporter.
No way they should have lost this game
No.
at all.
Not at all.
It was just bad. I mean, I think Gutho was good. I thought he played fairly well against his former club.
He was probably their best.
Well, yeah, easy. The 2 tries, 150 metres, 4 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks. Just had a very good game.
Holmes had a pretty ordinary moment.
There wasn't much else. I thought that Couchman was good, but he's always good. And then it's outside that, there's just not much.
The Bellin got done for a crusher that wasn't one.
I thought that was Ilias. Or was it the Bellin?
No, it was the
It
Bellin.
was the Bellin. It was a crusher.
He wasn't even on his neck.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
He had his forearms on his
His
neck.
forearms were around him like this. That unless he's got like tentacles for arms, they're not around the back of his neck as well. Crusher is not the forearms anyway. It's you're coming down on it like that. He didn't. His chest was like this far away from the back of the guy's head. The guy bent his neck and then came up whinging. I thought that was a bit rude, but in the end, it really didn't make any difference to the score. I don't think, but I think the referees have to get this right.
They do. And yeah, you could argue that this did cost the Dragons the game.
Kick for penalty goal, wasn't it? So yeah, that was a 40-metre out. And,
Yeah.
I knew he had a distance. I mean, he's a big kick, right, Max? So
Now, he would have kicked that from 55. It was
it
massive.
hit the fence on the full, you know. So he got plenty of distance on it.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of thinking for Shane Flanagan to do right now because for all of like the personnel that you brought in for this team, they were good signings, and most of them have performed, and yet the team is arguably worse than it was last year.
Yeah.
It's very, very concerning.
You know what it smacks of is these new players come in, everybody else says, "Oh, these are great players." We
Yeah,
don't
but do anything
do
else.
as much.
Yeah. Although
That can be a mindset.
it's hard and you can't like single out a certain player that's been like exceptionally poor. I mean, I think Jaden Sue has been pretty bad.
He's had a very slow season. I mean,
He's not been great. I think that Luch has been Luch, which is fine.
which is fine. But
I think this weird middle/hooker rotation they have going with Cook and Little isn't quite working.
Yeah.
Because I think Little is an excellent player and you would want him on the field. But where do you put? Yeah, exactly. You drop Jack DeBellin for him? I wouldn't.
maybe just bring him on for Jack Spillon. I mean,
I think that's what they've been doing a little bit. They've been like bringing him on as this like sort of ball playing lock role, or Damien Cook's been playing that role,
yeah,
and they've been like doing this weird switcheroo.
yeah,
I don't think it's been working very well. I think you need more out of Ilias and Flanagan in the halves.
you also need a bit more out of your fullback.
I thought Gutho's been fine.
Oh, sorry, who's the old fullback? Sloan.
He's playing on the wing.
He's on the wing. It's not his preferred position, of course, and that's the other thing. Stop playing people out of position.
Or do you just not play Sloan then? Because you're not going to drop Gutho.
No, well, see, that's it.
What do you do?
You go on the wing.
Yeah, they don't really have anybody else do that because they don't have Ravalawa anymore.
No.
Who's been terrible. South, he's been bad. Another guy who got injured. But it's like,
all the hamstrings.
I guess it's one of the Fienne bros, maybe. It's just, there's not much outside back depth of the Dragons right now.
Yeah. Well, they started well, and now they've just gone.
Not really started well. They're 1-4. They won one game. They have the same record as
The game that they won was a good one, though.
Yes, that's true.
I don't know how it happened, but anyway.
But yeah, it's a little bit concerning for the Dragons that they haven't kicked into gear as much as they probably should have. Right?
Dragons wouldn't screen, I'm telling you.
It might happen. But yeah, back to the Eels. Okay, so on Tuesday they name Riley Smith starting hooker, and you have Charlie Gardner in the emergency, which is fine. I think that's the way it probably should be. And then come game day, you have Charlie Geimer, who's named at hooker, but isn't playing hooker, because Hopgood's playing hooker, and then you've got Riley Smith coming off the bench. It's the weirdest player rotation I've ever seen. I don't get it. It's very, very strange. I thought Hopgood was very, very ineffective playing 9.
He's
a 13. He is a forward.
Yeah.
He's not a hooker. I don't get why that was the thing. I don't know what Riles was doing, but, far be it from me to question a winning formula. So, We talked about it before. Lomax was excellent. I thought we talked about Brown.
Yeah.
I thought Iongi had his first good game. I thought he played
Yeah,
fairly
he
well.
wasn't bad.
And for some reason, Junior Paulo played 72 minutes, which is
Pretty good effort for a guy who's
it is the third time in his career he has done that.
Wow, okay.
Why is he playing that long? There is no reason he should be playing that many minutes. And it concerns me more because he was effective for the entire stint, which there's no precedent for this guy.
I mean, looking at his preseason, he lost about
Oh,
12
he
kilos
dropped
or
a
something.
lot
Yeah.
of weight.
So I think that's what's helped. He's obviously fitter than he's been, and maybe that was the plan that Riles had for him, just to drop a bit. You're going to get more time on the field. You are the captain after all. I mean, get you on the field as much as possible.
He ran what? It was 190 meters. He had 3 tackle breaks, 3 offloads. That's very, very good numbers from him.
He's going well.
Going very well. It's a big confidence-boosting win for the Eels, and I think especially for Coach Riles. I think it'll do wonders
First win in the NRL.
because you're going to be looking at Parramatta the last few weeks. You're thinking, "Oh, this is not good," and you get a win, and all of a sudden, "Oh, maybe there is something there," which is
It has always been there. But they've just had no skill. And that's not being horrible. It's just what was on display. You know, the effort was always there. But they just couldn't get themselves over the line enough.
yeah.
You know, like even against the Bulldogs, the effort was there.
Yeah.
It was only 14-6. It wasn't a flogging or anything. So,
Exactly. This
they
is how
tried
Parramatta.
hard.
This is how Parramatta need to win games, drag people down to their level,
Beat with experience. Yeah, that's why it works.
play bad games, and you will win.
Yeah.
It's the most counterintuitive game plan I've ever heard, but it worked.
It can work. Hopefully, it doesn't work again. Because,
Let's hope so. They need Mitch Moses back, man. You need him back. Do you even? Maybe you just rest him for the whole year. If you're not in chance for the finals, there's no point risking him again.
absolutely fair. Get him to be one.
It feels more much like Sam Walker, I suppose. Maybe you just don't play him the rest of the year either. There's a few interesting injured halves that may or may not be playing the entirety of the year. So I guess we will see how that goes.
We will.
Good for the Eels.
Not good for the Dragons. They need to work on that.
Speaking of not good, the Gold Coast Titans. I said this. We did the team list thing at the end of last week's episode, and this is what I said.
By a bit.
I'm just hoping it's not one of those Titans games where they lose by a bunch and look terrible. That exact thing happened,
Yeah.
and that's frustrating to me because this always happens. I don't know why I let myself believe that the Titans were different. This always happens. We think they put a couple of good games together, and we think this is it. They've turned it around, and then they lose by 26 points to the winless Dolphins.
Who, to be fair,
They did play well, but the Titans had all the resistance of paper mache.
didn't help that they lost their captain about 2 minutes in with another one of these high tackle things.
Which, in my opinion, was fair.
Yeah, it was a fair one. He hit pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he had too many arguments that he could make, but this new crackdown is certainly, it's still up for debate whether or not it's going to work.
I don't think it'll work. I think it's going to be a bit frustrating for a couple of weeks, and then they'll give up on it because everyone's getting too frustrated.
And that's what they've done.
A coach will say something. I can guarantee it's going to be Ricky or Trent or one of the coaches that always says something about the refs, and then they'll think about it and think, yeah, this isn't a good idea.
He's good at saying things without saying.
Although I will say, despite all of this, there has not been a lot of referee talk from coaches. And I said this last week, there's definitely been some sort of memo that's gone out saying, please don't talk about the refs. We can't do anything about it. Help. So, yeah, they need to do something about it.
But yes, the Finns were very, very good.
They look good. This is the first game where they've looked offensively competent.
That was with their captain.
I thought that
Really going great.
Hammer had a good game. This is probably his first one for the year. And also, randomly, Daniel Saifidi,
He's going great.
like having the best start to a season, of one of the better starts to this season of all the
He's
forwards.
doing better than his brother over at Newcastle.
It's very strange. I didn't expect this to happen. I'm happy for it, don't get me wrong, but it's just odd.
He seems to be enjoying his footy now. I mean, he's smiling a lot more and he's just getting out there and having fun. And that's great. Look, winners are grinners, right? I mean, the Dolphins deserved the win. The Titans were pretty ordinary. to be best.
Man,
To be best.
this team misses Keanu Keeney so much.
Uh,
I didn't realize how bad it would be because Jalen DeGroot is an okay player, but I think he takes so much pressure off the Brimson Campbell combo.
well, he's just got that X factor, doesn't he?
Exactly, and it's really
You're just leaving up to one player because that's what it came down to now. Without Kenny, it's all Campbell, right? That's it. He's the X factor.
yeah. So if this is what the Keeney-less Titans are going to look like, I'm very concerned because I don't know when Keeney's going to be back. I don't think they know when Keeney's going to be back.
It's not good for them, but it's good for the Finns. I'm glad for Christian Wolf to get his first win in the NRL.
Yeah,
I've always liked him as a coach. I think he's a good coach. And it was always going to take time for him to gel with his players and his players to gel and all that sort of stuff under a new system, which would have been slightly different to the way Wayne Bennett did it. Let's face it. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
They're not the same people. So, and they showed some really good glimpses of what they could do if they.
Yeah, maybe this is just the one they needed.
Maybe it was.
It could be the one that kicks them into gear, which would be good.
I hope so.
I'd love to see the Dolphins make the finals because it's proof of the success of this venture.
Yeah.
Seven. I told you they're going seven.
I guess we will see.
Yeah. No, it was just once again. I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't a great spectacle just because of the fact that the Titans
Turned out terrible.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's an aberration and not the trend for how they're going to go without Keanu Keeney.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. Hey, I mean,
and now they're going to miss Tino for a week as well, and it's not good reading for the Titans right now. Des Hasler has his work cut out for him with this crew.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins go on and play the Panthers next week.
I do think that Fafita's slowly improving though, so that's a good thing.
I think the Dolphins may win next week against Penrith.
I guess we will see.
We will talk about that.
Yes.
From one blowout to another, Broncos Tigers.
Feel bad for the Tigers.
Look, the first half was fine,
Yeah.
and then it
Wasn't.
died.
I think the tries before and after halftime killed the Tigers. That was it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those ones were fine. There was no conjecture result from Adam Reynolds. I mean, the guy turned back the clock, tip and chase to score a try. I mean, come on.
Yep,
There are millions
Yeah,
doing things like that.
definitely turned back the clock by doing an amazing play and then hurting himself.
It's kind of
That's classic Adam Reynolds.
yeah. But it was him that basically broke the back of the Tigers, who were fighting pretty hard and not too badly, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much bad about the Tigers. I thought they had the effort, and I thought, especially in the first half, a lot of it played out like that. The one that Buller set up off the dropout, I thought was excellent, but it just kind of stopped as soon as Latu Fainu went off with his thumb injury. I think it was. It didn't help, and then it was just a disaster past that for the Tigers. There wasn't much ball in play in this game. Maybe that was the issue. They couldn't wrest back momentum because I think
There was no momentum.
the ball was only in play for like 48 minutes in this game. It was very, very strange.
That's rugby union. That's terrible.
It's because everyone was standing behind the posts all the time because there were so many tries being scored.
And I mean, it looks really bad, right? But it was only 6 tries to 4. 7 tries to 5. Sorry.
Something like that.
The Tigers couldn't kick a goal to save themselves. So it wasn't as big a flogging as it looked.
Yeah.
Some of those tries were a bit contentious as well. One was more than contentious.
You're talking about the forward pass thing.
Yeah,
That was worse.
it was terrible. He had to almost fall over to catch it. That's
It
how
was the main ref in the middle of the field seeing that as well, didn't call it. So that's bad.
And I thought, I know this is the more debatable one was the one where they pulled back through it very similarly
Oh,
to the Latrell Mitchell one.
Yeah.
On the line, and the guy caught it about 3 meters in front of
I
the
think
line.
Walsh was moving a bit more quickly than Latrell was, which then you can argue is the forward momentum thing, and it floated.
To a point, but if you're actually throwing it backwards, it won't float 3 meters forward. I think you'd have to be really flying for that to happen. But anyway, look, that's once again it's the news. It was the next day's newspaper. It was all over. It was probably over before that happened, but it didn't help.
Didn't help, no.
So 2 tries, that's 12 points. That's a lot closer again. So, but Brisbane keep going.
Yeah.
I'm not scared for the Tigers. I still think they've got improvement to make, and they just happen to be beat out enthused perhaps on the night.
It's one of those games where you have to watch it because of the lack of ball and play. No one statistically stands out. Like Payne Haas he was statistically very quiet, but I thought he still played well. He only played 50 minutes or something. maybe that's a function of him going ham the past month and deciding to have a bit of an off day. And I thought,
Didn't help my fantasy, just saying.
imagine captaining Kane Hunt.
I wonder why I did that.
Although I nearly captained Terrell May, and that would have been much better because he was also pretty quiet. The best forward on the field was the Pat Carroll.
Oh yeah. He's made a pretty good fist of going from lock to front row.
He has. It's the big thing is that he has a high enough work rate to be a middle
And he's
forward.
got the motor for it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, it was fine. I guess on the Tigers side, I thought that Galvin tried his hardest, especially after Finan went off. I thought he did everything he could.
Green Buller was pretty good.
I thought Buller had a pretty good game. It was just a bunch of meh, especially the second half. There's just not much.
I think,
happening.
yeah.
Corus now having to shift to 7.
He also couldn't kick.
Well, that was a bad kick, but none of them could kick. To be fair, I mean, they get 2 from 6 or something. It
wasn't good. I'm not
No, I think not.
overly concerned about the Tigers. This was going to happen with how this team was going. I think they were playing above their weight the first few weeks. I think this may have been a bit of a below average game for this team is.
I think they can do a bit better.
But I think I'm not overly concerned. I think the Broncos will be fine. I thought Ben Hunt did very well in the absence of Adam Reynolds in the second half. It's just
you can see that he hasn't really in the main. He doesn't kick very well. His kick's
Not-
not great.
yeah, he's a bit rusty.
But
I am getting more and more concerned about Reece Walsh though, because he still hasn't kicked into gear yet.
No.
And if there was a week to do it, it was the second half of this week, and it still didn't happen.
no, he's still very rocks, isn't he? He's not
Yeah,
doing his
it's
diamonds very much at all at the moment.
it's definitely a little bit.
Talking point.
It could be. It's one of these things. Nobody puts the pressure on him, right? Because he's this pin-up boy for NRL, and he's got all this pressure on him week in, week out. It's going to show at times. He's 21, 22. He's not old.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a kid.
Yeah, this is his formative years as a footballer. So I guess we can hope that maybe this can be good for him. Hopefully.
But remember, I mean, this can happen. All the reps they put on Jeremiah Nene, he's had off since then. You put reps on people who aren't quite ready for it. Don't do that. Let them develop their game.
Maya has probably had his best season in the 2 seasons.
He's coming off the bench. It's not the way he
Yeah,
wants to be. But thanks for this
I
one.
don't know how I feel about Reece Walsh right now.
It's definitely it's not what we expect
No,
from him.
absolutely.
I, at this point, think Ponga is streets ahead of him for the fullback role for State of Origin.
I don't think that's particularly up for debate. I think Ponga's easily the Queensland one right now, but
He's probably the best fullback in the comp. Maybe Tedesco pushes him, but that's about it.
we'll get to Ponga in a little bit, but I don't think he's been usually great.
Dylan Edwards is still injured and Tedesco's not playing as great as Storage. Do you think Scott Drinkwater has a chance at Origin?
They put Latrell back there or Turbo back there before they put one of those guys. If they're healthy, obviously. But it's just this is Broncos hitting what their ceiling is when you lose a halfback in the middle of the game, and this is the Tigers hitting their floor of what it looks like when you lose a halfback in the middle of the game. So there's not a lot to talk about with this game, but
I don't think you read a lot into it. I think,
there's I brought up the ball and play thing a little bit ago. I looked at because NRL.com has this play-by-play thing that you can look through. In a period of 2 minutes and 31 seconds, there were 5 errors. That shows you how much ball and play there was during this game. So there was a middle period in that second half where it was just terrible. It got really, really bad there.
well, I mean, I know humidity comes into play and stuff
Obviously,
like that.
it's just not
But
much.
it would be better than that. It was a game of football,
Yes,
and the Broncos won,
the Broncos won and the Tigers
and the
lost.
Tigers lost.
It was a game of football that has happened.
Another game of football that happened was the Battle of Brookvale version 23,
Which wasn't much of a battle.
in which the Storm absolutely poleaxed Manly.
Yeah,
It was a massacre.
Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah, this was bad. This is what we talked about in the preseason. This is the ceiling for Melbourne and the floor for Manly, because Manly, for a period of time, I thought, in the middle of the first half, I thought they looked like they could get back into it.
They did rest the momentum back a bit. They got it back to 18-10, and at that point,
And then the bench forwards came on and they got steamrolled. which is what we thought would happen because all of them are either old or extremely inexperienced. Because again, for like the third week in a row, the best forward for Manly was probably Ethan Bullimore, and that's about all you need to know.
Stefano wasn't bad.
I thought Stefano played well for Melbourne. He scored a try, which is nice.
And I guess the big guy for Manly,
Saka? No, he's not there.
he's not there.
Hamole?
He
was quite good.
He's just a norm at this point. He's the most destructive second row.
Angry guy.
He played very well. It's just, Melbourne were pretty dominant.
Yeah, they were. And look, I thought having Jerome Hughes back for
I did wonders
now,
for them, didn't it?
he was very good again. Pappenhausen, they got to a point again, second game this year where they pulled people off.
4 games, and half of them they've pulled half of their starters because they've won by so much.
Yeah. Well, it's called protecting your assets.
That's right. Yeah, that's just how Melbourne can operate right now.
Well, if you're up by 20-something points with 10 minutes to go, you may as well.
Yeah. Well, I will say, random phenomenal performance from Grant Anderson. I don't know how that happened. He got a hat trick.
That's right.
200 meter, ran 130 meters. He had 8 tackle breaks. Just a lot of very good football from Grant Anderson.
Yeah.
A lot of very good,
playing park football not that long ago.
all round, Melbourne played fairly well.
Colin Cole was pretty good.
He was Manly's best, but
Yes, absolutely. I thought, he played well. I would make the argument he should probably be the fullback instead of Lehigh Hopewati because he's done it before.
yeah.
And when he did it, pretty good.
Yeah. And Lehigh's more a winger. And
I think Lehigh is definitely more a winger. So
Cole's a bit more, I guess, flexible where he can play.
yeah, I think he definitely has the speed for it. We know that.
Yeah.
It was just Manly get ruined. Melbourne were good.
And we all thought that might happen after they lost to the Dragons last
Yeah,
week.
we all kind of said our condolences to Manly before this game. We were wrong.
We were right.
It's just, I think Seabold has a bit to work on with figuring out, especially like rotations in the forwards and just getting the best out of those forwards because I think the back line is fine. Like, I don't think you need to do anything with like the Saab and Garrix and who's the other guy, Trbojevic when he comes back. You don't need to do anything with that. It's just Takeaho's not performing. Sipley's completely dropped off from how he was last year. Jake Trbojevic is old, but still solid
They
defensively.
don't have Paseka.
I thought that Ben Trbojevic played well in the first half.
Yes. I mean, he got a bit frustrated in the second half, you can see it. And for Trbojevic to do that,
You know something's bad. It never happens.
No, they're always pretty unflappable.
Yeah, it's just there's not much else to say
No, not really.
besides Melbourne. I mean, they're sitting in third, but I'm still not taking them out of the minor premiership at any point.
No.
But speaking of the minor premiers, the Bulldogs still haven't lost a game
This was scary.
in what was a very bad game, however. This was bad. Newcastle were horrendous, for lack of a better term.
What was the final score? Oh, that's right, it was 0. Yeah.
I mean, holding a team to 0.
I thought that Newcastle would look at how they performed before the bye and think, okay, we need Ponga touching the ball as much as possible. He had 12 runs in this game for 90 metres. I don't know what the game plan is. It needs to not be whatever this is. Because this is going to damage this team. You need Ponga to be the central part of this attack. Because I like Fletcher Sharp, can't do it all himself. Jack Cogger played half this game with a dislocated finger that they couldn't get back into place. And everyone and their mother got injured. So how like halfway through this game you don't think, we need more Ponga?
Was Adam O'Brien, isn't he? He's not the best coach on it.
I've said that before, haven't I?
I thought Leo Thompson had a good game.
Leo Thompson was great in his first game back, which was about the only good forward because the other starting forward wrecked his calf running onto the field.
I know.
Great microcosm out of this game. And then Schiller busted his ear 2 minutes in. So
That looked pretty nasty.
it didn't look great.
Yeah.
And
The other guy was fine, however.
Greg Marju has been a complete liability under the high ball, which was always going to be his issue because he's short.
He's an ugly runner. Like, he
He's a
runs
great runner.
in the mould of Tomoko and people like that.
He's more like Brian Toto.
He's also like that. He's strong.
At least Toto was serviceable catching bombs, but Marju can't catch for clears.
He's kind of like a Muzz, but shorter. He's like a bit.
So Brian Toto.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of. He's 10% worse at everything.
Except height, perhaps.
Yeah. If you play a game and you have 43% of the ball, there's no chance you're winning.
No, not unless you're very, very, very lucky.
Adam Elliott had a very good game because
He's very consistent. Yeah.
ran for 100 meters, made 50 tackles.
He was probably the best.
It was also cool to see all the players running out of the tunnels with their flags on their backs.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was
Speaking of multicultural round, having the Warriors on a bye this week is a travesty.
That's pretty dumb.
The NRL is stupid.
The most multicultural of all the teams.
Have the bye during Magic round.
Very cool.
It's the dumbest thing they've possibly ever done. Or like it'd be like if when the Papua New Guinea team comes in, their first year in, they've had the bye during multicultural round. It's just
It's very close to climate. That on multicultural around PNG plays the Warriors, that would be
brilliant.
That would be the best way to do it.
Would that be?
Yeah.
It's just, but the NRL that's far too logical for them.
Yeah.
So,
Don't worry about that.
Dogs keep winning. It wasn't a great game, but they did their job.
Look at
Man, their
defensively, they're
defense is so good.
Defensively, they're very
It's
strong.
so good.
Kurt Mann scored in his 200th game.
Good for Kurt Mann. I think, Kurt Mann. I thought Jacob Preston was excellent as always. Jacob Carraz in his first game back, I thought was good. And Max King continues to be awesome. So just the usual suspects for the Dogs played well. Still in the absence of Burton and Kickout, they're playing well. This team looks pretty good.
They're not scoring as well as they probably could do, but they're
Like that.
but their defending is very, very
Their
good.
defense is so. Also, it's always fun to see a debutant scorer on debut. Go Jack Todd.
His debut was against the Sharks. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm really sure.
I don't remember. I remember looking this up before. Hold on.
Telling you about this.
Ondally.
Okay, cool.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find this. Bulldogs Knights. Scroll down here. Team lists. Where's Jack Todd? Isn't he the guy from DC? No, it's Jason Todd. Oh no, yeah, you are right. He debuted against the Sharks.
There you go, well done.
Never mind.
Man,
But still good. First try then. It's his first try.
first try.
It's always nice
No,
for a new player to get their first try. I remember when it was Hill and Lukey when he got his first
That
try.
was great.
Cheered up and everything. It was really nice.
Also, I'll keep shouting this guy out. Harry Hayes is phenomenal.
Yes.
I think he's
Yeah,
great. I don't know where Sam Hughes fits back in this team, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Well, that's Serraldo.
That's Serraldo.
That is definitely
We know Serraldo. He'll probably do the right thing.
Yeah, he's been doing very
He
well.
is such a good
Just
coach.
before we move on to next week's games, shout out to the Penrith Panthers for not being able to A, spell Isaiah's name correctly, or B,
No.
get the date right.
Okay, first of all, his name is actually spelled.
And there's no A in it. No, there's no A in it.
No.
Okay.
Apparently, he played his 250th game in March.
Last month.
So, yep, that's
Well,
Penrith. Cool. We got the Dargans of this year now. How good? And it's Penrith.
And the other thing you forgot to think about with tipping is that Cowboys tend to be able to take out teams where a player is
Milestone
having a
games.
milestone.
Yes, of course. Yep, I forgot that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but they seem to be able to
Three milestone games for the Rabbits. I can't imagine.
Only Marcus 300.
He's not playing.
No,
His
he's not.
hamstring's dead. Much like half of the league right now.
Anyway, on to next week's
On to
game.
next week. Dolphins Penrith. For the Dolphins, Tom Gilbert's back.
Yeah.
Playing in the second round. Plath stays at lock.
Yep.
Felice Kafusi moves into the middle, and Mark Nichols drops to the bench for the suspended Ray Stone.
Dylan tackle as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dylan Nichols has got Sorensen back, which is big news for Penrith.
That's big for Penrith, yeah.
But Mitch Kenny is out with a shoulder problem, and Jack Cole is out through concussion protocol. So Luke Summerton comes in at the 9, and Blaze Talangi reappears as the 5'8".
Oh, we're finally here.
Back, which is good for them, I
It
think.
is good for them, but we
We
have a combination with Cleary.
Isaiah Papali'i and Luke Garner get demoted to the bench.
Right.
Panthers need a win, and quickly. This is the week to do it, in my opinion. Whether it is the week they do it, we will see.
It's Suncorp,
I
right?
think it's at Suncorp.
So it's not a home game for the Penrith. And the Dolphins will be flying a bit higher this week than they were.
The Dragons beat Melbourne last week and then lost to Para, so
Well, there is that.
I'm gonna go with Penrith. I think I believe in them to get a win here.
I'm going to the Finns.
It'll be a very scrappy win, but it will be a win, and that's good for them.
I hope the Finns win, but it's
Yeah.
going to be hard. Right? I don't. That's probably the flip of the coin game for me.
Yeah.
Finns,
Type
with
one.
Finns, Finns from last week's show and a rift from last week's show. The Finns probably
The Finns will win, absolutely.
Or, flip a coin for me is probably the next game. Saints Titans. That's probably another flip of a coin for me.
The Dragons Titans. Both teams have played pretty poorly last week. The Dragons stick with the same 17. For the Titans, Jojo Fafita is back.
Right.
So Philip Sammy goes to the centres, Bo Fermor goes to the second row, and Fafita reverts to the bench.
So both of them have got Thermal does his best work anyway. So
Sam Verrills is back from a hip injury, which moves Chris Randall to the lock in replace of the suspended Tino. I will say the Titans have not won a game at this venue ever.
is this win Jubilee?
Yes, this is at Wynn Stadium. They have not won a game here ever. That's not good.
I don't see the Dragons performing that way again.
No, I see the Dragons winning this game
Yeah.
fairly convincingly at this point.
Probably by,
Yeah.
I would say I put 20.
I don't think it'll be 20. I think they'll win by
2 to 3 tries ish. I have more faith in Shane Flanagan to get his team back on track than I do Des Hasler.
Mm.
So it's
And that
not
was
good for the Titans.
That was a bit of a refreshing defeat last week.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a bit of a.
That wasn't great.
Anyway, Broncos Chooks.
They're play this year?
Yeah, they played in round 1, and Brisbane scored 50. So, and that was at Allianz. This is at Suncorp. Brisbane could score 70 in this game.
Yeah.
This could be
This could be ugly.
It could be the game where we see what the Roosters are actually made of.
I thought we were seeing that against Penrith. Maybe we can get another one of those games. I wonder what the odds are right now. Are they at $11 again?
Could be pretty close. No, I think Brisbane win pretty comfortably.
I say that's fair.
The Roosters have dropped Chad Townsend.
They have dropped Chad Townsend, so you get Hugo Savala playing his 4th ever game of NRL football, his first game ever starting.
Against the Broncos.
So Nat Butcher moves to the prop, and Victor Radley's back at lock, which is good for them.
Yeah.
Marky Mark was a late scratch last week, but is named as the 18th, so he could come in. I guess we will see, because there
What was
was
his scratch last week?
I think he had a calf problem. I know that there were rumours this week that Dominic Young could be on the chopping block, so he could come in for him. I guess we will see. I'm not expecting anything outside of Brisbane Bonanza in this game.
I don't see, based on previous games, that the Roosters have anything that they can do.
Just because this game doesn't matter, I'm going to go Brisbane 49, Roosters 13.
59 to 13.
They're still...
They both kick a field goal.
It's going to be 13 all at halftime, and then Brisbane will score 36 points in the second half.
That's exactly...
I have them 56 to 12. I think another 50 burger is on the horizon.
It could be. I feel for the Chooks, but that's just the way it's going to crumble this week.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it's closer just for the game.
If they keep losing like this, how long is Trent going to last?
He's been pretty successful with them, so I don't think one off year will kill him. But yeah,
This
if it happens again next year, he would be in trouble.
This is the off year. That's the thing. Sharks, the Eagles. Both teams coming off losses. Both who we all thought would probably be premiership heavyweights haven't really performed.
No.
Teague Wilton and Talakai are back for the Sharks, which is huge, replacing Billy Burns and Tuka Hautapua. For Manly, Josh Alloye is back after missing last round, so Sipley moves to the bench, covering for the suspended Corey Waddell. I'm surprised Jason Saber's named, despite his, I think he had an ankle issue last week, so maybe that's good for them. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Badly.
This is being played in Perth. This is the first of the Perth doubleheader. I have no idea. This game could be anything.
Well, we know how poorly Manly travel.
We also know how poorly Cronulla travel.
Well, it could be. I think Cronulla probably just have a little bit too much for Manly, but
I think the forward pack will do enough, because
Yeah.
that's what Melbourne did last week.
yeah. And their forward pack is pretty scary.
Cronulla probably be like 4.
It's going to be close.
It's not by much. It's like
Battle of the Beaches.
30-24.
There's a Battle of the
It's
Beaches
the Battle of the Beaches.
on the beach in Perth.
True. Okay. Bunnies Cowboys. The second Perth game
The Cowboys.
for the Rabbits. lots of changes due to injury. Latrell Mitchell is at 5'8".
Let's move
Jaden Sullivan is the halfback in place of obviously Humpty Dumpty and Cody Walker. Alex Johnston is back, which is good, and Ewan Aitken plays his first game of the year, which is good.
Alex Johnston gets to fall over the line and score a try.
He always scores against the Cowboys. Anyone jump on Alex Johnston anytime try scorer, it'll be paying like $1.20. But
If Carl Felt was still playing, you also have to jump on him as well.
absolutely. Liam LeBlanc is back, which I'm happy about because I like him. For the Cowboys, Ruben Cotter is back after being sick last week for whatever it was. I think it was a flu thing. He pushes Sam McIntyre to the bench and Harrison Edwards to the 18th man. This is another game where I just don't know what's going to happen.
It's in Perth too.
It's just
Cowboys are good travellers interstate.
Yeah, because we know because I think always the games between the Rabbits and Cowboys, there was always one that was played in Cairns,
Yeah.
and the Cowboys won 2 of those. So maybe,
And when we play Parramatta and Darwin, we always win by some distance. So
maybe it's the random odd grounds. We should be the Wanderers of. We don't actually have our own. We just move around to random places.
not Queensland Panthers. But I think if the Cowboys can play like they did against the Rift, I think the Cowboys win.
I think that's right, but I always get concerned because there's so much sheer talent in this Rabbits team, and Latrell Mitchell always seems to play.
Which they're missing though this week, which
Yes,
doesn't help them.
true.
Cody Walker, as much as I'm not a big fan of his, is a pretty good 5'8". So they will miss him there.
I don't know.
Cowboys are pretty settled at the moment too with their team. It's not changing for any major reason now.
Nah.
It's just injury or whatever.
Because this is the Cowboys heading into the bye, I can imagine them leaving everything out on the pitch. I'm fully fine with people thinking the Cowboys will win this. I'm just accustomed to sadness. So it's Rabbits by 2.
And you want the Bunnies to get into the top
I
4.
want the Cowboys to make the top 8. I'm not saying I don't want that. I'm just saying I think Rabbits have like a 0.5% chance more of winning this game.
Yeah.
Simply because I think
You think Latrell Mitchell is that much of a difference?
I think the Jai Gray is more important because of the amount of tackles he breaks against other people, and the Cowboys, against most opponents, will miss 30 plus tackles. He'll be a lot of them. So he could have an excellent game. I think that their forward pack is still very, very strong. It's fully a matter of how well Latrell plays at 6. If he's not up to scratch, the Cowboys will win. If he is, the Rabbits will win. That's I just don't
And
know.
it's not like something like a forward pass that
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
destroys one team's chances or the other team.
Yeah,
Like, who it is, it's not fair either way.
It's not fair either way. I don't know where to put this because it's not a personnel related thing, but the recruitment guy who was up here during like the Thurston years where they kept unearthing all these good guys who's been at Newcastle and I think the Roosters the past couple of years is coming back up here now, like right now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So that could be like Clint Zammett, I think his name is. He was fully responsible for getting Tamalolo into the first grade team. So that tells you what his pedigree is.
Is this like an assistant coach or whatnot?
Recruitment.
He's a recruitment guy.
He was bad.
It's like
It could be good.
Michael Luck.
I think it's Michael Luck right now. It could be good for the Cowboys. You know, especially with the amount of like important people off contract at the end of this
I really
year,
wish we
it
didn't
could
get,
be really important for him to be here.
I really wish we didn't get rid of James Maloney.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other
Yeah,
thing.
we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, so I don't know, 50-50. This could be either way, very close. Well,
Here's hoping the Cowboys,
go Cowboys.
you do that. 2015 all over again.
Well, they beat the Rabbits in round 6 that year as well.
Yep.
So it's
And that was a come from behind win. I remember watching it.
all coming together.
It is. I love it when a plan comes together.
Absolutely.
The last game. No, not the last game.
The last game. Last game on the
Last
Saturday.
game on Saturday.
Eels Raiders. Interesting.
Raiders will win this.
This could be interesting. Lomax is out for about 6 weeks with a broken foot. In the classic Parramatta thing of even when they win, they lose. Which means probably Bailey Simonson will enter the back line in some capacity. Riley Smith is named to start again, but who knows how that's going to play out with how Riles likes to mess around with his squad. The Raiders picked the same 17 that beat Cronulla. This is a game. which the Eels are terrible at playing in.
Yes.
So I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eels don't travel to Darwin at all.
Raiders
Well.
30, Para 6.
I don't know. I think both teams could be terrible because the Raiders don't travel well either.
We saw the humidity did to them in town. So
It's going to be worse. It's going to be a very bad game.
it'll be a low scoring, and I think
Raiders 10, Para 4 or
I
something.
don't think it'll be that bad. I think it's like 18-10 or something. Fairly low scoring.
I think the Raiders win though. I don't see, apart from blind stupid luck, I don't see Parramatta beating.
But if this game involves blind stupid luck, it's going to be in the Raiders' favour because that's how the Raiders work.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
I guess we will see. I'm fully expecting the Raiders to win this game, but not very convincingly. Storm Warriors.
This could be a good game.
Melbourne.
Trot out the same 17 that murdered Manly. For the Warriors, Rocco Berry is back, pushing Adam Pompey to the wing and Edward Cossey to the reserves. I've continually seen this thing that the Warriors are somehow a bogey team for Melbourne.
But they're not.
They haven't won in the past 16 games.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. At one point they were, but it's not anymore. Yeah.
I don't see anything other than Melbourne
We're going to win pretty comfortably.
pulling their starters again.
This is the game I'm going to go the upset. I think the Warriors could
Warriors are going to win this.
something off here.
I don't think so. I think Melbourne are too strong. Melbourne have had their loss for the year. They're not going to lose any more games.
That's their one loss. It's Storm by a lot.
I don't think by huge, but I think Storm will do plenty in the first half and then be able to take the foot off. And the Warriors may get 1 or 2 in the second half because of that fact that it might be like 30-18 or something like that. But
Yeah, a bit like the Parramatta game for Melbourne in round 1, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's probably a fair statement. Final game, Knights Tigers.
Tigers.
Knights have lost 5 people due to injury. It's bad. So this is long. Jack Cogger is out with a dislocated finger, which moves Phoenix Cross onto the 7 and Jaden Brayley as the starting 9. Paul McCarthy is on the wing replacing James Schiller. Brody Jones is now starting at prop. Pypius falls back from suspension, which is good. And Tyrone Thompson and Matt Arthur make their club debuts.
Tyrone Thompson, is that Leo's twin brother that we're not going to be able to tell the difference?
Yep, they look the exact same. He's little Leo in my descriptor here. For the Tigers, Luai Skelton and Samuel Finu are back, which is huge. Latu Finu's out with a thumb problem, and Jack Bird moves back to the bench. Both teams have lost 2 games in a row. They need to bounce back. I think the Tigers win simply because for the 3rd game in a row, Newcastle won't be able to score many points for some reason because their game plan sucks. Tigers by a couple. Single digits points.
I think Newcastle have maybe 1 or 2 players who can break the game open. The Tigers have more than that.
Yes, absolutely.
Luai and May and
They have lots,
Tarubai. Bullard.
I will say the May Thompson matchup's going to be fun. That will be fun. I think that's about it.
Nice. Well, good luck with all your tipping out there. We hope.
This year has been a disaster.
Worst tipping year ever.
Yes, I got 5 last week, which is my best ever.
I got 3.
I don't know
Because I did the logical thing and tipped against the Cowboys.
That'll teach you. But yeah, well, good luck, everybody. Hope your team does well, unless you're the Rabbits.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!